Hello, everyone.
What's
Thank
up?
you.
If you take that picture, I'm on
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be joining you today. I have listened to a little bit of your conversation just before I got started, and I took a few of those questions, so I'm going to implement them into the demo. But like Zawar said, today's demo, I'm going to be doing one recipe, but the idea is and this is with all of the content, all the recipes that we create out of our kitchen. So this is our kitchen space. We're in the basement of Toronto General. We're actually part of Princess Margaret Cancer Center. But all of our recipes are really geared towards being as accessible as possible. Obviously, we want them to be healthy. A lot of the cooking that we do is focused directly for the cancer population. So we do focus on side effect management as well. But even just including ways and tips and techniques to just make that cooking process that much more enjoyable, less stressful, a lot more affordable. I think everyone can agree that, with rising food costs, we want, recipes, and we want to cook at home, in ways that don't, break the bank. So that's really, really important. But also, a couple of you mentioned also cooking alone. Like how do we make recipes last a little bit longer? What can we focus on with cooking where it's not taking up a lot of time, or not taking up a lot of energy, and it's also going to prepare us for those days where just don't feel like cooking, which is fine. We don't always have to be cooking everything from scratch at home. So I wanted to make this recipe sort of touch on some of those elements, and hopefully it will also touch on some of the tips from the previous presentation, which was great. This is meant to be, food, cooking, eating, nutrition as well, right? I will say throughout, please ask any questions. I don't know if what the process is, but if you want to unmute yourself or maybe the chat, and maybe we can feed it that way. I'm happy to answer at any point. So if you have something more culinary specific, I'm more than happy to answer that. In regards to the nutrition part, maybe Zoya, sorry, I never met you before. Maybe Zoya can address, maybe she can jump in at some point as well. I do work with a dietitian, so all our classes are co-taught. So we bring that sort of dietetic and that nutrition elements with the cooking as well. She's not able to join us today, but a lot of our content online is both with the nutrition and the cooking. So beyond today's class, we can sort of plug our website and YouTube channel, and there's tons of inspiration and recipes that you can check out that way. All right, so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to stop talking. I'll continue talking, but I'm going to show you what we're working with here. So, we don't have Food Network quality camera angles, but we're going to do our best. I'm going to just crouch down. We're going to be making a soup today. This is one of my favorites. This is a spiced squash soup. I think it's perfect for the time of the year. Really nice sort of comfort recipe for sure. But what I love about it is, again, it's going to be one pot meal, so you don't want to be cleaning up too much afterwards. That's sort of a pain, right? So one pot, and we're also going to be making a larger batch. So, we can make 8 servings with this, we can make 10 servings with this, and we're going to sort of, focus on that meal planning aspect of it, right? How can we store it for future meals? With that being said, with all cooking and eating and enjoying, that process, if it doesn't taste good to you, then you're probably not going to really want to make it more than once, right? It doesn't really matter how healthy it is, and it doesn't matter how easy it is. It has to taste good to you. I think it was Bill maybe that mentioned prior. I think it was beautifully said that food is like music, which I think it's one. If I have to write that down, because I think I might share that as well. And I think that goes with tastes as well. You have your preferences in music, and I want to listen to music that I enjoy, and I'm probably going to listen to more of that. I like to explore into some different genres as well, and I think that goes with cooking as well, right? Your preferences, your likes, your tastes. So definitely focus on that with cooking. But every once in a while, throw in a new ingredient, maybe throw in a new spice to excite your palate, your senses a little bit, and hopefully that gives you that little inspiration to cook a little bit more. So for today, with the flavors in mind, we're going to be focusing on a few aromatics. So these are sort of the ingredients that bring flavor to your dish. And I'm using pretty simply just some garlic and some onion. Any onion will work. I just roughly chopped. I had some red onion, and I have a clove of garlic that I just crushed to the side of my knife ahead of time. But from other aromatics or other flavors that you like, I would love to throw it out to the group. Maybe you can throw it into the chat, some of your favorite flavors that you enjoy cooking with as I continue with this, because I would love to know. And you can really riff on this recipe. I could probably send it to the group afterwards, maybe we share it, but you can definitely take this into any direction. So if you like celery, maybe some fennel, maybe some ginger, absolutely include that in. I think that will work really, really well. But at its simplest, I'm just using some onion and garlic. Ginger, yeah, fresh ginger from Bill. Garlic with the face star emoji. Love that. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So garlic, ginger. That's going into our pot. I'll show you a close up of the pot in a second. What I have in here, it's just medium heat, so nothing too aggressive. Focus, okay. Medium heat, nothing too aggressive. And I have a little bit of olive oil in here. Maybe a couple tablespoons. I'm making a big pot of it. So will work. I just want to soften the aromatics. I don't need to get too much color on them. A little bit of color is okay. That just means that it's caramelizing. We're gonna get some more flavor. But I don't need to be too aggressive with the heat. So medium heat, a couple minutes just until the onion and the garlic soften and they're doing their job, imparting their flavor. And then this is a great opportunity to add some more, maybe spices, maybe some herbs. I don't know if anyone mentioned any herbs and spices they like. I see ginger and garlic. Okay, so if you have any other spices and herbs that you like, maybe mention that as well. For this, and again, this is where you can customize it, use what you like. If you like it on the milder side, something a little simpler, absolutely go in that direction. If you like something with a little bit more flavor, or maybe something new that you haven't tried before, this is a great opportunity. So for this soup, I'm going to be adding, this is one of my favorites. This is called garam masala. I don't know if anyone's heard of garam masala before. It's used garam masala before. It originated in Indian cuisine. Absolutely one of my favorites. It's this incredible combination of different spices, and it depends on where you get it. It will be a little bit different, but mainly you will find cumin and some cinnamon, maybe some coriander, maybe some ginger, maybe some cardamom. It's has this incredible warmth to it, and it's like almost slight sweetness. For me, when I add it to dishes, I sort of describe it as like this nice warm hug, and I think that is a good way to sort of envision it in a recipe like this. Now, it doesn't add spice like in terms of heat. So if you don't like spicy food, then you don't have to worry about that. It just has this really nice, almost when you think of like cinnamon on dishes or like a little cardamom on like baked goods or something like that, has a nice warmth to it. And I think it works really, really well in soups, especially with root vegetables or like starchier vegetables. I think it pairs really well. So I'm going to add about a good tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half. At this point, whatever dried spices or dried herbs you do choose to add, this is the point in which you want to add them. Okay, so because they're ground and they're dried, we want to waken up. They're sort of dormant. That aroma, that flavor is sort of dormant. So we want to waken that up a little bit. We want to make that flavor explode. So adding it to the warm fats here, which is the olive oil in this case, it's really going to open up those flavors, going to sort of extract some of those essentials, those oils in the spices themselves and open them up. So you're going to get this really, really great aroma, really, really great flavor in your dish. But also with ground spices, you want to sort of cook it out a little bit first Otherwise, you might get this sort of chalky, powdery feeling or aftertaste on your palate, which isn't too pleasant. Like if I were to add the ground spice at the end of the soup, the flavor's not, I mean, you'll get some of the flavor, but it's not going to be maximized. And you might get that sort of aftertaste, which isn't too pleasant. So we want to cook it out first. I think someone said bloom, which is, yes, exactly. You want to bloom the essence. Yes, Bill, love that. I'm checking on the chat every once in a while. All right. Nope, don't leave meeting. That would be that. Okay. Back to the screen. All right, so we have our laptop in a little closer so you can see what's going on. We have our onion, we have our garlic, we have our garam masala, just slowly kind of softening over here, getting very aromatic. This is the point where if you have neighbors close by, they might check up on you, see what's going on. They might want an extra portion, which is good. Really, really flavorful. And this now is really ready for our main ingredients. Now, today we're going to be using squash, but you can really use whatever you like, even whatever you have accessible. So this would be great with maybe a little bit of cauliflower, make a really tasty cauliflower soup. Even at its simplest, just some peeled carrots. Get some large peeled carrots, throw that in there, make a delicious carrot soup with minimal ingredients, right? That would taste great as well. I chose squash specifically because I find that, well, has anyone tried to hack their way through butternut squash before? Yeah, maybe some of you. Not the easiest thing in the world, right? Anytime you have like a hard vegetable that's also round, and you're like trying to like apply a lot of pressure with your knife and you're chasing it around your cutting board, it's not the safest thing in the world. It also takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, and sometimes you just don't want to be bothered with it, and you might not even want to make it or use that ingredient because of that challenge, right? Because of that barrier. So a couple tips on how to make that prep, that cooking process, just a little bit easier for you, a little less exhausting as well, is first thing, utilize frozen. We love frozen in our kitchen. We talk about frozen fruits and vegetables all the time. I think they're amazing, even coming from my background, where you hear, oh, it's always got to be fresh, it's always got to be in season, it's always got to be local. Frozen is a great option. Zoya, I don't know if you want to comment in terms of nutrition, just as nutritious as fresh. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. To be totally transparent, I don't have a dietitian background, but like from what I've heard, when we freeze like fruits and veggies at their kind of peak, they stay in really good quality for a long time. So it's a great option.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, our dietitian, yes, does the same thing. So we love using them. In terms of prep, they're already washed, they're already peeled, they're already chopped. So all that work is already done for you, which is fantastic. They're all usually always a little bit more budget friendly as well. Like you check your freezer aisle. I always pack my freezer up. You get like eggs for $8. Sometimes they're on sale, maybe 2 for $10, which is pretty good. Also, the options are a lot better. So, I remember when I first started cooking, you had like peas, corn, frozen carrots, maybe all three. It was like really exciting, a really exciting night with frozen veg. You have all three in a bag. That's pretty much it. But now, I mean, you can find frozen butternut squash, frozen sweet potato, frozen beets, cauliflower. I found coconut the other day. Like you really have many more options to work with, which is fantastic. So to take a bag of frozen squash, just you did a little bit of work to add some really, really awesome flavor. Make it easy for yourself. Frozen bag of squash in here, frozen bag of cauliflower, a little bit of stock or a little bit of water, blend. Beautiful. You have a soup in like 10 minutes. Like it's really that easy. And a lot of that work is already done for you. So that's the first tip. Definitely utilize frozen. We love it. The second is to use the tools that you have in the kitchen to do a lot of that work for you, to do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. Okay. So anytime I have like some of those harder root vegetables like squash, sweet potato, maybe like rutabaga, celery roots, any of those hard starchy vegetables, pop it in the oven. I'll use wash it, pan, oven. Don't need to take out my knife. I don't add anything, don't have to add salt, well, nothing. Just wash, pan, oven, 375 for about 60, 70 minutes. It depends on what you're roasting. And if it's like a large item, you might want to go a little bit longer. But we call that non-active cooking, right? So you don't have to be standing up at your counter, chopping, exhausting yourself. You just pop it in the oven, set the timer, let rest, relax, maybe something else while that's softening and while the oven's doing its work. And what you have is camera angle change. All right. What you have is, so I did a couple in advance. You have this. So might look a little gnarly like this, but for me, this sort of caramelization on the outside, the sort of oozing of this like natural sugar coming out of it just means incredible flavor. So we're helping with the prep because I'll show you, like with the sweet potato, this is a pretty large sweet potato. I don't even need my knife at this point. Like it's already done. Skin comes right off. And the work is done. Like much easier to prep. But look at that color. Look at that caramelization on the outside. This is maximum flavor. Really, really good flavor. Those natural sugars have just sort of bubbled away. They caramelized, and you have just this. Like this is like vegetable candy at this point. Super, super tasty. This would be an amazing little side on its own. Peel it. You can even leave the peel on. Like the peel is edible as well. If you want to add some like more fiber, like beautiful, awesome. But if you want to maybe add a little bit of chopped herbs, maybe some like pumpkin seeds on top of that, and that's a delicious side on its own. It's still a little hot, so I'm going to throw it into the pan, and we'll do that with the other half of the sweet potato right in there. And then I'll show you with squash. And for those who remember battling their butternut squash in the kitchen, pressing and looking at it, knife, you can even use a butter knife at this point that slices right open, just like that. And scoop the seeds out. And again, this is the hardest work that you're going to apply to it, is just using that spoon to just scoop that flesh from the butternut squash out. Again, prep, making it so much easier, which is the main thing, but also we're getting a little bit more of that added flavor because it's been sort of concentrated. Those flavors have been concentrated in the oven, right? Now I'm using, usually when I make this, I might just use a squash. I wanted to show you with the sweet potato too, so I'm already riffing on the recipe, which I think is important. Like allow yourself that, just like like music. You can take it into whatever direction you want to. You don't have to always stick to the rules. We're not making some fancy cake or flan here. We're making like a really, really nice, humble, delicious soup. So absolutely add whatever you like. But here's an opportunity where we can maximize our efforts as well, right? I put in one squash, one sweet potato, just to add to this soup, to make this soup. But I'm using the oven anyways. You're turning on the oven, you're using the energy anyways. If you like adding squash and soup to your dishes, there isn't a reason why you couldn't put like 8 sweet potato on that tray, throw like 4 or 5 squash on there, same cooking time, get it to this point, and then once it's nice and caramelized and soft, you scoop it out, put it into a freezer bag, and then pop it in the freezer. And then next time you want to make a nice soup from scratch, that work is already done. You just take it right out of the freezer into the pot, liquid, with your flavors, like 5-10 minutes, and it's done. Or maybe you want to make a really nice like risotto with like a butternut squash base, or a nice like root mash, like a mashed potato bowl with like some sweet potatoes and some squash in there. So you have a few more options to use it in different ways, but again, you're doing the work once to set yourself up for those days where you just cannot be bothered to do prep. All right, butternut squash done. Add the rest of that in here. Am I making a little bit of a mess? Yes, but I think that's part of the fun as well. Wash up here. So, show you what we got going on. Now, we have our flavor base here. We've added our sweet potato and our squash. And again, this could have been from a freezer bag, or if you roasted it yourself. Same process, okay? And same process going forward. The color's getting a little weird. There we go. So this, you can finish the soup right here and it'll be fantastic. Delicious, cover it with some liquid and you're good to go. Here's an opportunity to add a few more boosters. Our dietitian likes to call these like little nutrition boosters that you can pop into your dishes. And so a great way to add some like plant-based protein, maybe a little more fiber. We're adding some lentils. Okay, we love these little pantry items that you can keep stocked up. They're pretty inexpensive. I mean, you can get a bag of lentils for like a few bucks, but they last a lot longer. Right? You can keep them in pantry dry for years, no problem. These ones in particular, in terms of convenience, in terms of saving time, these split red lentils are one of our favorites because they take like 12 minutes, 13 minutes simmering to cook. They do not take a lot of time. No prep. It's not like dry beans where you have to like soak them overnight and do like a long cooking process. These are ready to add. You can give them a little rinse if you want, but they do not require any soaking at all, which is fantastic. And you can add them pretty much directly in, just like this. Also, for those that maybe they're not like big fans of like beans and lentils, we sort of call this like our gateway pulse. Like it's very easy to start with this as your introductory pulse because it's very neutral flavor. Like you really won't even taste that it's in there if you're not a big fan. Also, when it cooks down, you can blend it through soups to change the texture. It almost like elevates that texture, makes it a little bit more viscous, like a little more thick and luxurious, but you will not taste that it's in there. So I'm not a fan of like hiding ingredients in food, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do, especially if you're cooking for people who don't like certain things. And so these split red lentils, I think, are a nice way to start. So we're going to add those in as well to help boost that up. Little food trivia. Does anyone know where the majority of the world's lentils are grown? You can throw it in the chat, your guesses. Little pop quiz for our foodies out there. Any guesses? Oh yeah, 5 minute warning. All right. Okay, you can throw your guesses in there. I'll get back to it. And I'm just going to finish up the soup here. So we're going to add some liquid. Now, again, there's so much flavor that we've built into this. We have our onion, we have our garlic, we have our garam masala, we have our sweet potato or squash in there. Add water at its simplest, and this is going to be fantastic. It's going to be delicious. Don't, make an extra ingredient like, oh, I don't have chicken stock, I don't have veg stock on me, so I'm not going to make this. Don't let that be a barrier for you. Just use water, and this will be really, really tasty. If you want to add more flavor, absolutely sure. You can add like a veg stock or chicken stock. And then also, again, use whatever convenient products you need to. They have great like low sodium, even like no sodium stocks you can find in the grocery store. That's a great convenience product so that okay, I don't have to spend hours to make a nice stock from scratch. If you like doing it, beautiful, absolutely, go for it. But make it easy for yourself as well. All right, so I have a veg stock here, but again, this could be whatever you want. I think someone asked or guessed India. That's a great guess. I think that's the most common guess. It's actually Canada. Canada, we grow the most lentils in the world. In our prairies, we have amazing fertile lentil growing soil, which is awesome. We export most of the lentils we grow, but Canada is the leading grower in lentils. So using when you buy it in the grocery store, it's a local product as well, which is awesome. All right, so covering it with our liquid, and that's it. Lid on top. I'm going to let that simmer really just until the lentils are soft and they're cooked. So like 15 minutes tops, and it's done. You're good to go. Now, going back to that meal planning, how to set ourselves up for future meals. Once this is done, you can blend it so it's nice and pureed, or I like to leave it a little bit more chunky so you see the different pieces of squash and sweet potato in there. So you can take it into whatever direction you want. But once it's cooled, a little tip to store everything. This is one thing I picked up. I love it. I use it all the time now. These little muffin tins, these like silicone-based muffin tins, and you can get portion sizes, right? So this is like a half cup portion. At home, I have a full cup portion. When my soup's cooled, I, portion them out into my muffin tins, and with these little silicone ones, you just push the bottom, you get these awesome little frozen pucks. So I can get full cup portions of it. I can get half cup. Once they're like this, pop these in a freezer bag, and you have these like little snacks or little meals ready to go. So again, if you're living by yourself or you just don't have the energy or time to cook all the time, maximize your efforts, set yourself up with tons of like little side meals or snacks so that you can pop these quickly in the microwave, you can throw them in a pot, 5 minutes and you have that meal that you worked so hard on, delicious and ready to go. That's it for me. Thank you so much. I feel like I'm going to pass out. I just kept talking. Do I know Dario? Dario from George Brown. Yes, Dario is sort of a legend at George Brown. I don't know if he knows me, but yeah, he's Dario is a legend for sure.
Yeah, I spent a couple of years working with him.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Dario,
Yeah. Before he went to George Brown.
Yeah. He's one of the vets at George Brown. He's been there for quite some time.
Great presentation, and nice tips. I'm one of those people that has the that issue with lentils. Never really liked them that much, and so you're absolutely right. It is a good way to slip something that's nutritious like that into a simple soup.
Absolutely, yeah. And for sure, if you did want to give them a try, I would start with these. I always tell this little story. So we had a younger gentleman who used to come when we used to do our classes in person. He would come out, and his extent of like cooking experience was, Campbell's soup, open a can in a pot, which is, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But from that tip, what he started doing is he would add a handful of red lentils into that just canned tomato soup, let it simmer, blended it through. He said, I did not even taste that it was there, but it just made that soup like that much better because it almost thickens it up a little bit, and it just gives it this really, really nice finish. So yeah, it's an ingredient that you can experiment with. But yeah, thanks, Bill. Glad you enjoyed the class.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much. It was so informative and exciting, and we can see that from